My dumbass for the longest time just thought this was an establishing shot. This is the first time I noticed Luke and the crew are down here being checked by the rebels. In this shot here, we see Luke wearing a poncho, which he was also wearing in the previous shot. Where did he get this poncho? Did Han have one stored on the Falcon? I also like how Leia's dress is dirty here. It just adds a bit of realism.
Yes. We're approaching the planet Yavin. The rebel base is on a moon on the far side.
A lot of people have pointed this out, so I won't take credit. Why the Empire didn't blow up the actual Yavin planet is a total plot convenience. However, contrary to popular belief, logical consistency is not always the most important part of a story. The movie is far better off having there been a space battle with tension and a countdown timer. But others will have you believe that tension and pacing and narrative climaxes are not as important as this minor plot hole. This watchtower or whatever must be the worst job a rebel could have. He doesn't even have a seat. He has to stand this whole time and hold a spear for whatever reason.
The target area is only 2 meters wide. It's a small thermal exhaust port.
Thank you, Galen Urso. Your sacrifice has been acknowledged and it will pay off. I also love the collective groan when it is said that the exhaust port is only 2 meters wide. These rebels should be grateful that a battle station the size of a moon can be destroyed by a single fighter. You know how lucky that is?
That's impossible, even for a computer.
But it's not impossible. I used to bullseye womp rats in my T-16 back home. They're not much bigger than 2 meters.
This single line of dialogue is apparently good enough for us to believe that Luke, someone who has never flown an X-Wing, can expertly fly one and destroy the Death Star. If that was annoying, I could call Luke a Mary Sue or something like that, but I'm not going to.
Orbiting the planet at maximum velocity. The moon with the rebel base will be in range in 30 minutes.
Throughout this final sequence, if you were to actually time the countdown timer with a stopwatch, it is never accurate. Here the guy said the Death Star will be in range in 30 minutes. We know that right before it blows up, the Death Star was actually in range. But at the time of saying it will be in range in 30 minutes, there was only 24 minutes left of the movie, including credits. So that doesn't line up. Also, what is this timer on the screen counting down to? It's not the 30 minutes till the rebel base is in range because this time is showing around 30 seconds left. What's gonna happen in 30 seconds?
You got your reward and you're just leaving then?
That's right, yeah.
Hot take, I think it's totally unfair to judge Han here for taking the money and leaving. Han agreed to a job of simply delivering passengers. He went above and beyond to rescue the princess. He did his job. Luke guilt-tripping him for not signing up to risk his life for a cause he was never a part of is unfair. I empathize with the rebels and I want them to win, but I don't know if I'd have the balls to go into a battle as a huge underdog. Guilt-tripping someone for not wanting to risk their life is wrong.
Who's a good pilot like you? You're turning your back on them.
What good's the reward if you ain't around to use it?
Okay, that line from Han there is selfish. I'll give Luke that. He should have just said, "Hey man, sorry this isn't my fight. Good luck."
I don't believe it. Hey, how are you? How'd you get it?
So I got an interesting take on this scene. I think it is an awkward addition to the special edition of this movie. For those who don't remember, this moment here where Luke sees Biggs again was not in the original film, and it makes sense why. Up until this point in the movie, Biggs is only mentioned briefly way earlier in the movie during the breakfast scene with Owen and Beru. But back in my part 1 of my overanalysis of A New Hope, I mentioned how there was an entire Tashi Station sequence of this movie. In this scene, we get a lot of Biggs. He talks about going to join the academy, and Luke expresses his frustrations about staying on Tatooine. Fast forward to the end of the movie, this scene originally was going to be the reunion scene of Luke and Biggs. But because Lucas decided to cut out the entire Tashi Station scene in the beginning of the movie, it only makes sense to cut this scene out because we never met Biggs. However, since Biggs kinda became a legend because of his mustache, Lucas decided to add this scene of Luke and Biggs reuniting into the special edition. I don't think it was a good addition because most people don't know who the hell he is, and they're certainly not going to remember that one line of dialogue from an hour and a half ago. In my eyes, this scene being in the special edition is pure fan service. There's also an extended version of this scene where this older pilot talks about knowing Luke's dad. This was obviously cut from even the special edition. There's a 40-second sequence of this movie where we just see people getting ready for the battle. There's no lines of dialogue, there's no music either, just scenes of people setting up X-Wings and Y-Wings. I don't know. I find this scene here to be a little unnecessary. Like, did we really need to see all these people get into their ships? I think it would have worked better if we saw how nervous these guys were that they're about to fight a losing battle. Could have added a bit more humanity to the rest of these pilots.
Stand by alert. Death Star approaching. Estimated time to firing range, 15 minutes.
So here the Rebel announcer says that the Death Star will approach the Rebel base in 15 minutes. Just in case you were wondering, the scene where the Imperial dude says the Rebel base will be in range in 30 minutes was only 4 minutes ago film-wise. Also, wouldn't it be a better idea for these rebels to evacuate the base? This way, if Yavin 4 is actually destroyed, most of the rebellion can live on and continue to fight.
Look at the size of that thing.
Cut the shot on Red 2.
I love how the Rebel fighters were able to go from the Rebel base to the Death Star in only like 2 minutes. But the Death Star needs a whole 30 minutes to make that same trip. I guess you can make the argument that the Death Star is bigger and harder to move, but would that really be the case? I feel like whenever I make these videos, I start nitpicking a bunch of scenes. So I need to make at least one comment talking about how brilliant this scene actually is. This entire sequence is arguably one of the most influential scenes in the history of cinema. I can only imagine what it was like watching this back in 1977. The only thing I could maybe compare it to from my personal experience was watching Avatar for the first time in 2009. That movie just seemed like it was impossible to make. I'm sure Star Wars was the same back in 1977. But other than the technological marvel that is this scene, it's also just beautifully paced, beautifully shot. It's a perfect scene. Remember that as I start overanalyzing certain things.
We count 30 rebel ships, Lord Vader, but they're so small they're evading our turbo lasers.
A thought just crossed my mind. I'm assuming the Imperials don't actually know that you can blow up the entire station by shooting the exhaust port, because if they did, you'd think they would do a better job protecting it. Rogue One confirms this, but let's ignore that for the time being. If the Empire's ignorance towards the Death Star's flaw is true, then what do they think the rebels are accomplishing here? From their perspective, they have this moon-sized space station that is borderline invincible. What are 30 rebel fighters going to do to damage the station? Are they just stalling the Empire? At first, I was going to give this nitpicky criticism that realistically, the Empire would have sent far more than a squadron or two of TIE fighters, but considering the Empire doesn't think this is any real threat to the Death Star, it kind of makes sense why they would barely send a counterattack to attack the rebels. Why bother?
Eject!
Eject? Eject where? Into space?
The rebel base will be in firing range in 7 minutes.
Just in case you were wondering again, the part where the rebels said the Death Star would be in range in 15 minutes happened 2.5 minutes ago film-wise. So again, what is this little timer counting down towards?
Can you see Red 5?
In this one shot, you can see some random dude holding a marker or something on this board. What is he doing? How is this helping the battle? Someone explain to me what these boards do. In this one shot, what you are seeing at first is a large-scale painting of the Death Star. Then the shot uses the blaster fire effect to mask the change from a shot of the painting to a shot of a 3D model, so that they can move the camera into the trenches. Pretty clever camera work.
Say about 20 guns, some on the surface, some on the towers. Death Star will be in range in 5 minutes.
The scene where it was said the Death Star would be in range in 7 minutes was roughly 2 minutes ago screen time-wise. Good job, George. I like when this one guy dies, he doesn't scream or anything. He just leans forward and then blows up.
We've analyzed their attack, sir, and there is a danger. Should I have your ship standing by?
Ah, I completely forgot about this scene. So the Imperials didn't know there was a weakness until some engineers found it, and Tarkin still chose to ignore it. Interesting. I don't know why, this one shot of the stormtroopers getting knocked over just makes me laugh every time. That hallway must be right next to the exhaust port. This is the same exact shot that was used before when I spoke about the filmmaking behind it.
Wait!
Rest in peace, Biggs, and your mustache too.
Rebel base 30 seconds and closing.
Alright, the Rebel base is 30 seconds from being in range, and we are at the 1 hour, 55 minute, and 14 second mark. Keep that in mind. So we see that Luke's targeting computer here has a countdown to when he's supposed to shoot, which makes sense. We saw the other guy do the same. The timer is counting down pretty quick too, but if we were to time the actual countdown here, it would take like another 10 to 15 seconds until he reaches the exhaust port. But in reality, he doesn't reach the exhaust port for another minute and a half. So this targeting computer was way off. Oh, and yeah, this whole moment here is great, by the way. Realistically, I feel like a shot from Vader's TIE fighter would blow R2 up right then and there. I also wonder how Vader would feel knowing he just shot his good pal R2. He probably doesn't care, but it's just a thought. The real reason I wanted to highlight this scene was the look 3PO gives when he hears R2 is shot. I thought it was really well done. It shows us 3PO's concern for his good friend without distracting from the pace and tension of the scene.
Rebel base in range.
You may fire when ready.
So here we are at the 1 hour, 56 minute, and 25 second mark of the movie where the Rebel base is finally in range. The part of the movie where we were told the Rebel base would be in range in 30 seconds was actually 50 seconds ago. I'll be honest, before rewatching this movie, I remembered these times being way off, like off by whole minutes. But upon overanalyzing it and actually monitoring the time, it's not that bad. I mean, sure, 50 seconds is a bit off from 30 seconds, but the rest of the instances are pretty spot on. Either that or you can say some time passed off screen. I could just write this all out of my script, but you know what? I'll accept that I was wrong here and I'll leave my mistakes in. Also, my dumbass just realized that this is not a window, but a screen. In the beginning of the movie when they were at Alderaan, I just assumed it was a window, but I was wrong there too. This shot here of Tarkin is actually a reused shot from earlier in the movie. Also, fun fact, you just watched 1,565,231 people die just now on the Death Star. That is the official number according to Wikipedia. Vader must be so confused right now. Remember, he doesn't know that there was an exhaust port that could blow up the whole station. He's probably thinking to himself, what the fuck just happened? How did the entire station blow up? Nothing to say here, I just really like this moment. Seeing everyone happy, it's nice. A lot of people are going to complain that Chewbacca should have gotten a medal, and fair enough. The Rise of Skywalker in a goofy kind of scene made sure Chewie got that medal. But fun fact, the medal Chewie got here was actually Han's medal. There was a deleted scene that we get a glimpse of in the trailer where Leia's holding Han's medal. And I guess at some point she gave it to Maz and then Maz gave it to Chewie. There's not much to say here at the end of the movie, so I thought I'd point that out. Oh, and one more thing. I checked every single scene where there was a lot of rebels, and I can confirm that there is not a single other woman in any of these shots. It is just Leia, and every other background character is a man. If there is a woman and I missed it, let me know, but I thought I'd share that fact. And that is Star Wars: A New Hope. Thank you everyone so much for watching these videos with me. I hope you enjoyed my overanalysis of my first Star Wars movie. Click on the link here to watch Overanalyzing Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back Part 1. If you don't see the link, the video hasn't come out yet. Thank you everyone so much for watching another one of my videos. Don't forget to donate the Claude Squad, and I will see you guys next time.